Hello and welcome to this lockdown episode of the Toffee Blues Everton Newsfeed podcast. On a lighter note, as previously mentioned, this has been obviously uncertain times, but it's provided a lot of opportunities for football clubs to make use of some sort of, some very unique content. Obviously, I've seen the likes of the official FIFA channels again, classic matches, the UEFA as well, getting classic matches out there. Everton have been streaming old games, which I know this podcast will get out there, I imagine, a day or so after the 1st of April. But on this day in 1970, we picked up our 7th league title, which is pretty cool. But as I was saying, Everton, the official Everton Instagram account, put a template on their story for fans to utilise to name their best Everton 11 during their lifetime. Now, I was born in 1998. It handed me quite a lot of disadvantages, I would say. I've missed out on some absolutely legendary players. So, obviously players from the 80s. Now, Tom, who also does these podcasts, has the upper hand on me. He was born in 1997. And he said he was doing his research, and it allowed him to have Neville Southall in goal. And he put Dave Watson in goal as well, in a centre half, which I think he must have only been about 2 when he was playing. And I mean, I've judged them off players that I've actually seen play and judged with my own 2 eyes.
Yeah, so, I've done that. I've not included players from when I was 6 months old, because if I did, my team would look a lot different, but I couldn't speak to it. I'm just assured they were good because I've not seen much of my own eyes. That's cheating. There's no way.
No, I know. He said he missed out including Andrei Kanchelskis as well because he was born a couple of months after he left, so he couldn't put him in there. But I don't think he would have put him in there anyway. So, right, we're just gonna reel these off, and I suppose we can quiz each other on our selections as we go through them. So for me, formation, I've gone for a diamond 4-4-2, and for my chosen manager, I know he's only been on us a couple of months, but it is pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? I mean, the man's won Champions League galore as a manager and a player. Gone with Carlo Ancelotti. David Moyes coming close second. Obviously, he was here for, I think it was 11 years. Obviously, the man I've grew up watching as Everton manager. And, I still hold Moyes in very high regard, how he managed to turn our fortunes around from, the catastrophic situation in the 90s to put us in there as a contender for European places. And then in third place, going to have to go for Mr. Roberto Martinez, now manager of Belgium. I think in my time as an Evertonian, we probably played our best football under him. But I think at the same time, the most frustrating football as time progressed. In goal, number 24, got to be Tim Howard. I obviously, in terms of Everton players that I've met, Tim Howard right up there with being one of the nicest guys. I remember when I was younger doing my work experience in high school at Finch Farm, he'd give me a pair of signed boots and he just sort of endeared himself to me half from then. Me back four, I'm pretty sure they played all together at the same time. Seamus Coleman at right back, Sylvain Distin at centre half, who also responded to me starting 11 when I put it up on my Instagram story. Sent me a little heart eyes emoji. And he had to go at me for not putting him at left centre back. It was my mistake. I put him at right centre back rather than left centre back. He's a left footed, isn't he?
Yeah.
But at the other centre half, and I know you're probably going to have a go at me for this, I'll put John Stones. Left back goes without saying, Leighton Baines. Now, my midfield, I think this would be a pretty well-functioning midfield. I think it's got a good balance of players that can attack but also know the defensive responsibility. Holding midfield, Idrissa Gana Gueye. On the right side, Mikel Arteta. On the left side, Stephen Pienaar. And the head of the diamond, Tim Cahill. Me two up front, I've gone for Wayne Rooney. Yes, I know we did come back in his 30s, but watching him when he was younger, when he was like 16, 17, 18. Honestly, he's one of, if not the best young player I think I've ever seen. And I'm sorry, Duncan Ferguson, but I think it just goes without saying that his strike partner is Romelu Lukaku. Now, hit me with it.
Yeah, I mean, no complaints. I mean, I can't believe you got the centre backs the wrong way around. It's such a big thing. You know,
That was a rookie mistake. I know.
This time was brought in to replace Lescott as a left-footed left side. It was what Moyes always wanted to have. He wouldn't have two right-footed centre backs. I mean, he very briefly, well, due to injuries, had two left-footers, but he always wanted to build on that balance. And you know, if rumours are to believe, we're going to go back to something like that next season. But yeah, I mean, for mine, I went with the 4-2-3-1 formation. I know that's gone really stale now, but I wanted to pick a formation that I've seen us play the most of, and there was only really two standout formations. Then it would have been 4-2-3-1 or 4-1-4-1, which was the, you know, Moyes finished fourth in the Champions League places formation. But then even Moyes adapted to an 4-2-3-1 eventually. You know, Martinez used it, Koeman used it, and Silva used it. It's only really now, under Carlo Ancelotti, we've moved to a proper new formation. There's been variations within, but now, only now we've started to see a proper change. Manager-wise, I'm like you, I've gone for Carlo Ancelotti. I mean, if you could pick a specific moment or a specific season for a manager, then obviously Moyes in 2004-05 or Martinez's first year, you know, strong candidates, but I'm not looking at that list of managers with Moyes, Martinez, Koeman, Allardyce. Sorry, I was just sickening my mouth a bit then. Marco Silva, and then not picking Ancelotti. Ancelotti is a better manager than them in his sleep. So he hasn't done a lot here, but I just can't pick off that list and not pick Ancelotti, even though he's only been here a few minutes. So the logic of what I've seen only applies when I want it to. In goal, I did go for Tim Howard at first, but I've changed my mind. I agonised over it. I'm going to have to go
Nigel Martin.
With Nigel Martin. I mean, I was born in 1989. But I've mentioned on previous podcasts, I got into football quite late. I was a teenager when I got into football, so all the 90s didn't bother with it, and probably for the best because my dad's a copite, so if I'd have bothered with it, I'd be one. Got into it when I was older, and you know, got taken to Goodison Park, and you know, the rest is history. So Nigel Martin, in that, as good as Howard was, even though he went a little bit, you know, off the boat, he stayed a little bit too long. I think everyone, you know, accepts that. But Martin in that season, 2003-2004, kept us in the Premier League. He was immense. He was coming right to the end of his career, and he was just so good. So I've just gone for Nigel Martin in goal. Back four of Coleman, Jagielka, Lescott, and Baines. Sorry, Sylvan, if you watch this, if Max sends you this. That was another close one, but I was always a Lescott guy over a Distan guy. Nothing against Distan. I just thought Lescott and Jagielka for their partnership were just fantastic. Obviously, Baines and Coleman speak for themselves. In midfield, at the base of the midfield, I've got Mikel Arteta, just one of the best players I've seen play for Everton. Before his injury, he was just one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. I mean, Match of the Day and BBC don't seem to realise he played most of his Premier League career at Everton. You know, put out a little tweet for his was it his birthday? He put a tweet out of his.
I tweeted that and then I deleted it because I looked like a nagging, you know.
No, they put a
nagging little dick.
For those who didn't see it, BBC Match of the Day's Twitter account put out a happy birthday message to Arteta with like a highlight video of his Premier League goals, and every single one was Arsenal. He scored more goals at Everton and had more appearances at Everton in his Premier League career, but they acted like he'd just played for Arsenal. Like, what the hell? So Arteta, and this was the hardest part of the team, Gareth Barry, because I was agonising over Idrissa Gueye. Because Idrissa Gueye was quality. He's gone on to Paris Saint-Germain and looks the part there amongst all the superstars around him, like Mbappe and Neymar. he looks a quality player, and that's because he is. Everyone's acting like it's a new thing. We've known for years, quality player, and we didn't make the most of Everton because we were in flux as a club. But I've got to go with Gareth Barry. Absolute class act. Even when Martinez's teams had the wheels starting to come off, he was just the consummate, professional. His levels never dropped. He was a fantastic player. I just wish we'd got him when he was younger, so we'd have got more time out of him. There was some seasons where the end of season awards should have just been him having a 3-course meal by himself.
Wearing gazelles.
Yeah, exactly. So Arteta and Barry. Across the 3 attacking midfielders, on the left I've gone for Stephen Pienaar. Speaks for itself. Pienaar and Baines, one of the strongest combinations down one side we've had. He was just a great player. A criminally underrated player. I don't think he gets nearly as much credit as he deserves for Premier League midfielders. Tim Cahill in the middle. That was another one that was sort of close because Fellaini was a good player, but there's just no one except Tim Cahill. Was that he a big game player, and we haven't had many of them since he's left. Boy, absolute quality, the best little Australian we know. I think that's how it goes. On the right, I had to get him in because the right was the weakest position in the team, and although he's not been here that long, Richarlison.
Yeah,
he's I know he's a striker, but it's my team, so and he can play there. Proper Everton player, fights for the badge, works his arse off, loves the fans, loves the birds in town, scores goals, and he's a moody get. Love him, absolutely love him. And up front, again, I saw Rooney when he broke through, but I always feel like we didn't get the best of Rooney. I always feel like he really caught light. And by the time he really caught fire when he left. And I remember when I was young and I cried when I watched him.
Broke me heart,
The first game after the Euros, I loved the Euros. He was still here at the Euros, and I was like loving every minute of it. We'd known about him, and he exploded onto the international stage. Then he goes to Man United, and he's playing his first game, and he's in the Man United tunnel with a rip in his top, and he's playing Fenerbahce, and he just ruins them. And I was just like, oh, he caught fire when he left Everton, and he only came back when he'd gone out. That was the way I looked at it. Like, quality player, credit to our academy, England's most successful ever player, or captain, or whatever it is, goal scorer, all these other accolades. Maybe not player because Bobby Moore and all that. But I just can't fit him in. Our top Premier League goal scorer, Romelu Lukaku, is just a no-brainer. I don't think anyone who's done this template hasn't included him. They may have given him a partner here and there, but there's no one who's not got Lukaku in that team. An absolute goal machine. Just every single game he played, you knew he was good for a goal. He covered up the ills of some poor managers, and once he was gone, there was nowhere to hide for a lot of players and a lot of managers. He wasn't the perfect player, but he was an absolute beast of a goal scorer. The most gifted natural goal scorer since probably Gary Lineker was at the club.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Honourable mentions go to the likes of Kubu, Andy Johnson, who did well when they were here. Obviously, Duncan Ferguson, an icon of the club. Who's you say your hero when you grow up with Arteta. Man was Duncan Ferguson, and if this team had a bench, he'd definitely be on it.
Yeah.
But so Lukaku. So the only thing I've changed from my Instagram is probably Martin for Howard. There was a few close calls in the team now. So go on, let's hear it.
No, I think that's a pretty solid team. Because when I look at these teams, I'm thinking about the practicality of them. I think Tom played a really weird 4-3-3 with a midfield of Pienaar, Arteta, and Cahill. I'm thinking that team's just gonna leak goals. Like, this got no defensive cover whatsoever. So
was it Tom who was including players he was 2 months old for as well? Was it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, if I did that, I'd absolutely roast everyone. Like, the only one who's older than me is Jerry, and he didn't start watching. So I mean, I could turn around and I could throw Southall in and what have you, but I just can't. I'm doing it from when I've watched it because I can speak to that.
Yeah, I was gutted that I couldn't put watching Kanchelskis. He just seemed like an absolute terror on the pitch. Anders Limpar as well. Seemed like a good little player from before my time. But on your team, you've got the main man, Gareth Barry, sitting in between the two centre halves, like just protecting the back four as the full backs bomb on, which it was boss to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the problem with a lot of these picks, other than the Moyes players, the Kales, the Pinars, the Artetas, some of them you sort of like. There was some players who would, if they hadn't have tailed off as badly as they did, you could make an argument for it. Kevin Morales was fantastic at first.
Yeah.
James McCarthy looked like he was going to be a beast. You know what I mean? There's loads of players we've had who've been quality in short spells, but then it's tailed off badly, or they've not. The managers haven't, have come and gone, and the club's been in too much turmoil. It's an indictment on the mismanagement of the club that was still going back to so many Moyes players. But I've managed to get a current player in Richarlison, and hopefully in a few years we're turning around and we're going, you know what, it was really tough to decide who to pick between Calvert-Lewin and Lukaku, and it sounds mad to say now, but who knows? We could turn around and go, oh well, as good as Jagielka was, I've got to put Holgate in, that kind of thing. There's always that aspirational aspect to it, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed. And I mean, as I say, it's also obviously the Moyes era, we've got the most evidence for as to who we can put on there. But I'm just thinking for my bench, Ferguson, James McCarthy, because I love watching James McCarthy in his prime alongside Gareth Barry. And dare I say it, and I'm probably going to get slaughtered for saying this, but Ross Barkley. I love Ross Barkley in his prime. He only showed it for a combination of in spurts of 45 minutes over an allotted season, but I feel like that he's just a very well built number 10 for the modern game, and he's still very inconsistent at Chelsea today, but he puts in performances like he did against us when they trounced us 4-0, and there are still flashes of that Gascoigne type that the media sort of lauded them as.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking benches, there's a few. I mean, I haven't got a set up bench, but players who just missed out for me, like Howard, Distan, Idrissa Gueye, Duncan Ferguson, Yakubu. So the players as well who were so unsung, but they were so good for us, like Lee Carsley. Lee Carsley, was that that one in the 4-1-4-1, in between the midfield and the defence, and the whole team ticked because of him. Not an exciting player, not a what you call it now, not a player with sauce. Help me out, Max. I'm young. I'm not young. Sorry, I'm a sauceless player, not a highlights player, but dead important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and it would be pretty cool to see definitely some of the older viewers and audience put down their team of their lifetime, and I'm sure it'd just be the 84-85 lineup.
Yeah, anyone who saw it would just throw that 84-85 team in at you, and then you're gone. Or the odd one might go, what, I prefer Lineker to Gray. The odd thing like that. But eventually it'll get to the point where these are hard, because if you have a certain age, you pick all the Moyes players. If you have an even older age, you pick the 80s teams. Hopefully, we come back and do this in another 5 years. It's a lot harder, put it that way.
Fingers crossed that we pick up some silverware in that time and make a few legends of the lads that we got today.
Yeah, hopefully.
Terry, take care, man. Look after yourself and everybody else out there. As I say, look after yourselves, look after your families. Stick to this lockdown. Don't be gathering in groups. It's not wise, and stop panic buying toilet roll, you dickheads. It's just a stupid thing to do.
Wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands as well. Take care, everyone.